All right, good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to another short war video. And today we have learned some very big news that apparently some civilian vessel has been attacked in the Black Sea, apparently a couple of weeks ago, and we just learned about it today. It was being kept secret from us, and now it's been discovered through some interviews with the British Prime Minister that something has occurred, and we have some details about that. And we've also learned that Ukraine has retaken some very crucial oil rigs in the Black Sea as well from the Russians after a very fierce and almost movie-like battle with some Russian fighter jets involved as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first piece of news, which is from Nexta. And it's about that attack on the civilian vessel in the Black Sea. And we see here that the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said that Russia attacked a Liberian-flagged civilian vessel in the Black Sea on August 24th with caliber missiles, and according to Sunak, all the missiles were shot down by Ukrainian air defense, and quote-unquote, Putin is trying to win a war that he can't win, and these attacks show how desperate he is, and by striking cargo ships and Ukrainian infrastructure, Russia is damaging the rest of the world, said British diplomatic chief James Cleverly. And this is a huge discovery, by the way. And of course, we do know that some things happen in the background that simply the OSINT world doesn't learn about for a long time. And this seems to be one of those events. To hear about this a couple weeks later, this was a pretty big deal. So this was kept under wraps pretty closely. But it was apparently a Liberian flagged vessel. And this was on August 24th, by the way. And the Russians fired caliber missiles at this vessel. And the Ukrainians were able to shoot down all of them, according to Sunak. So if you take that at face value, it's a good thing that the vessel wasn't hit, but nonetheless, Russia tried to destroy a Liberian-flagged civilian vessel, which is not really a military target because it was transporting grain, according to the official story. So, very big deal, and I'll be interested to see if other details come out about this as well, because this is a big one. And moving on to our next post here, we have one from the Kyiv Independent. And this is about those retaken of Black Sea oil drilling platforms that Russia has occupied since 2015. Ukraine has regained control of these platforms, which is a very big deal. And we see here that Ukraine's military intelligence released a video detailing the operation involving a battle between Ukrainian special forces on boats and a Russian Su-30 fighter jet. And real quick, this is a lengthy video, so we're not going to watch the entire thing. But as you can see here is the oil rig in the video that they retook. And they're filming this from the boat, by the way, that they took to the vessel. As you can see, here's some aerial footage from a drone, I presume. And there is the vessel. It's kind of in some rough shape, the oil rig here. But it has nonetheless been occupied by Russia. They won't let the Ukrainians have it. And after today, it is now in the hands of the Ukrainian Special Forces once again. So a very big deal here. And if you want to see this video, by the way, it is reposted on our Twitter page, and you can see it there. And moving on, we do have some pictures of the event. Here you can see the Special Forces soldiers standing on top of the oil rig. It says Crimea to Sevastopol in the back with the Ukrainian flag. So I'm sure the Ukrainians are very proud about this operation. It was a very big success. There they are right there, holding the Ukrainian flag yet again. And here they are at night. They apparently spent the whole day there, or they got there in the morning, one or the other. And here is one of those skipper vessels off of the oil rig right here with the same name on it. So very big deal. And the Ukrainians are rightfully very proud of this achievement. Pretty big achievement, by the way, and I'm sure this is going to anger Russia greatly that they lost these vessels because I'm sure they wanted to keep them. So moving on to our next post here, we have one from Anton Gerashenko, and it says the meeting of Putin and Kim Jong-un will likely take place in Vladivostok, says CNN. And their first meeting ever also took place there in April 2019, and Putin has already arrived to Vladivostok on Monday, the Kremlin has reported, and Kim Jong-un is most likely traveling there by train now. And I can confirm the statement that Anton made right here. We have heard through different OSINT sources that Kim Jong-un is currently on his heavily armored train, and he is currently transiting to Vladivostok as we speak at the moment. So he will be there probably either Tuesday or sometime around that point. Not sure of the exact time he'll arrive, but he will be there before Wednesday, which is when the meeting is expected to take place. And this is a big deal because, first off, the North Koreans are entering pretty large negotiations with Russia to hand over weaponry. And we've learned today that in return, North Korea is looking for more advanced equipment like satellites, technology to go into that, and they're also looking for some more things that they don't have related to technology in exchange for rather crude bullets and guns, very cheap guns that North Korea apparently had lying around somewhere that I didn't know about, or nobody knew about because we thought they were broke and didn't have anything, but they apparently have some spares. and Putin is willing to trade. So we're going to keep an eye on this one right here. The West seems to be taking this much more seriously than I would have thought they would. So maybe North Korea has something to trade that is more serious than we think. So moving on to our next post, we have one from Nexta, and we learn that NATO has scheduled one of its largest exercises since the Cold War. And in fact, this is the largest since the Cold War, which was decades ago. The alliance's military will practice repelling Russian aggression, and 32 states, over 50 ships, and about 41,000 military personnel will participate in the maneuvers, and aviation will carry out 500 to 700 combat sorties. And these exercises will take place in February and March in Germany, Poland, and the Baltic countries. And it goes without saying that this is a huge deal. This exercise here is going to be the largest since the Cold War, and it is designed to show Russia that we mean business, we're able to mobilize quickly, and we have the organization to get stuff done, unlike them. Now, obviously, 500 to 700 combat sorties, that's a ton. 41,000 military personnel, that's also a ton. This is a very big mobilization, and I'm sure it will get the Russians riled up quite a bit. And it's going to be happening in just a few months. So there's a lot of planning that has to go into that, and I'm sure NATO is on its toes right now to get that done. So moving on to our next post here, we have one from Visegrad 24. And it says, Poland signed a framework agreement today to buy 486 HIMARS systems, and Poland earlier bought 20 HIMARS, meaning that Poland will have a total of 506. And it was also announced today that Poland will open a HIMARS Academy in Torun, where HIMARS skills will be perfected. And man, is that a huge order of HIMARS. That is a massive order. For example, like the post says, they had bought 20 of them before. Now they're buying 486. That is a massive amount. And apparently Poland believes they are very effective, or otherwise they wouldn't place such a large order. And they've probably seen how effective they are inside of Ukraine. And they know they need a lot of that system in case a bigger war breaks out and they need to defend their country. They'll be ready. And I got to give it to Poland. They are spending big on defense. They are taking this entire situation very seriously with the war in Ukraine, and they are preparing for something bad to happen. And I think that's a smart thing to do, just out of precaution. Now, I'm not saying that World War III is something that's going to break out tomorrow or trying to fearmonger, but it is a remote possibility that it could happen. And Poland is spending somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6% of their GDP on defense at this point, and it appears to be going even higher than that. Meanwhile, other NATO countries around Poland aren't spending their 2%, which is the minimum requirement for a NATO member to uphold their defense spending. So Poland is taking the initiative, and other NATO countries need to follow suit to make sure we're all ready in case something bad goes down with Russia and the West. So moving on to our next post here, we have one from Flash News Ukraine. And we see here NATO says there are no signs that Russia was deliberately planning to attack the territory of Romania, and G4 Media writes about this with reference to a statement by NATO Deputy Secretary General Mircea Joan. And, quote-unquote, they want to assure the Romanian public and the public of neighboring territories that there is no cause for concern. And take that for what you will. Obviously, there is a cause for concern because Romania was attacked twice by errant Russian drones. If you believe they were truly errant, unintentional or intentional, it's totally up to speculation at this point. But 2 in a row, within days, attacked Romania. The official story is it was unintentional, but we really don't know. But NATO wants to tell everyone that there's no cause for concern. So I'm going to let y'all make your minds up on that instead of telling you what to think. And moving on to our next one here, we have another one from Flash News Ukraine, and we learned that collaborator and propagandist Gennady Dubov, or however you say his name, I really can't say it that well, he's been killed in temporarily occupied Donetsk, the Russian mass media have reported, and he was reportedly hit to death by a car. Damn. And Dubov, or whatever his name is, had been fighting against the FU since 2014, and he was one of the ideologists of Novorossiya. So it seems like really bad fates happen to people that fight for Russia. This guy's no exception. Hit to death by a car sounds like a pretty nasty way to go, and sounds very suspicious to say the least. But you know, what happens in Russia stays in Russia, but there you go. And moving on to our next post here, we have one from Ukrainska Pravda in English, and we learned that this very sneaky looking devil right here, and I have no clue where they found this photo. He's looking extra devious today, Lukashenko is. We learned that the Wagnerites in Belarus are being recruited into Lukashenko's private military company, which is called Guard Service, PMC. So apparently Lukashenko sees an opportunity to get some fine fighters from the Wagner group, which is now going into oblivion because its leader got killed in a plane crash. And Lukashenko believes this is the time to expand his PMC at his own peril. So we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, the Wagner group is composed of a lot of criminals, so I'm not really sure if he's getting the best of the best here, but he thinks he's getting something, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. And moving on to our next post, we have one from the Kyiv Post. And we learned some more about those Taurus missiles, apparently, maybe going to Ukraine. It says the issue of providing Ukraine with Taurus missiles is moving forward, says Dmytro Kuleba, which is the Ukrainian foreign minister. And he says, we discussed in detail the provision of long-range German Taurus missiles to Ukraine, and today we have a better understanding of the specifics of the final decision-making process by the German government, and for its part, Ukraine is ready to do everything necessary to expedite it. And really nothing new here. Kuleba is being pretty tough and pretty strong about trying to get those Taurus missiles. He's doing his job pretty effectively. His job is to badger the other countries to make sure they get the equipment, and he is doing a damn good job badgering Germany. So he is putting the pressure on them. Hopefully, he'll get the Taurus missiles that he's looking for, so that way Ukraine can strike even farther. The long range in those missiles is very effective, and that's what Ukraine is looking for. So maybe they'll get there sooner than later. But moving on to our last post here, we have one from Anton Gerashenko yet again, and this is about Surovikin, and this is our last article of the day. It says, unconfirmed information about Surovikin's alleged fate has appeared, and apparently, despite the fact that Surovikin has been pardoned, we learn that Shoigu and a number of other figures insist that his stay in Moscow and in the Russian Federation as a whole is inappropriate and dangerous. So it sounds to me like Shoigu is trying to have him exiled, that is Surovikin in fact, and he may actually get exiled. For example, the Russian General Popov had a similar fate after he spoke out against the Russian military and their practices, and this guy, the Surovikin, could end up being about the same. So we'll have to wait and see on that. We did see Surovikin on the street yesterday with his girlfriend, wife, or somebody strolling the streets. So he is definitely in Moscow, and I'm sure he still has some pull left, which is not to Putin's satisfaction, I'm sure. But with that, that is our last piece of news for the day. I hope you found this video informative. If you would, please press the like button, please subscribe as well, and peep our Twitter page. It's @It'sTheEnforcer on Twitter, where we post the news minute by minute, and that is the fastest way to stay up to date on the war. Also, if you want to support these videos and help us keep doing them, you can go to our Patreon page. The link is in the description below, and support us over there, and we do greatly appreciate all the support. And we'll see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern on our nightly war news stream. Be sure to join us then, and bye-bye for now.